All right, today we are reviewing the Equations and Inequalities Unit Study Guide. For numbers 1 through 3, it says you can determine if a value makes an equation or inequality true. So to focus in on number 1, it says to do 6 times x equals 108 when x is 18. So we substitute in an 18, 6 times 18 is 108, and 108 equals 108, so that is true. Forgot to write the word true, but that's true. For number 2, we need to substitute in 110. So 110 minus 19 is 91, which is not less than or equal to 81. So number 2 is false. Number 3, substitute in 18 for x. So 18 plus 6 is 24, and the inequality reads 24 is greater than 24, which is not true. They're equal, so that is false. Now for 4 through 9, we are solving the equations, so we need to do the inverse or opposite operation to solve for the variable. So for number 4, 2.1 times x is equal to 23.1. We need to divide by 2.1 on each side, so you're left with x equals 11, and then you can see the check there that 2.1 times 11 does in fact equal 23.1, so that works. For number 5, subtract 54 from both sides so that x equals 22. Substitute that back in to check it. 22 plus 54 is 76, and 76 equals 76, so that worked. For number 6, subtract 1.2 from both sides. 4.5 minus 1.2 is 3.3, which is equal to x. Check it. 4.5 is equal to 1.2 plus 3.3, which is 4.5, so that also works. Over to number 7, we need to add 10.6 to both sides. Those cancel out, we're left with just x equals 27.5. And then to check that, we end up with 27.5 minus 10.6 equals 16.9, and 16.9 does equal 16.9, so that works. For number 8, multiply by 12 over 1 on each side. X equals 90. 90 divided by 12 is 7.5. And then for number 9, we needed to divide by 9 on each side to get the x all by itself. Remember, our goal is to isolate the variable. So x equals 16. 9 times 16 is 144, and 144 equals 104. So that also works. Down at the bottom, we have different directions. So here we are writing real-world equations. All right, and we just needed to figure out what the variable was and write the equation. So the variable here would be S, the number of stamps collected. You could have just written number of stamps collected. It comes right from this question. How many does his cousin collect? That means how many stamps. And then the equation would be 4 times S equals 60, because Xander collected 4 times as many stamps as his cousin. So that's 4 times as many as his cousin collected is 4S. If Xander collected 60, how many did his cousin collect? So 4S equals 60. And then for number 11, Lucy has a coin collection of quarters from different states. We know a quarter is worth 25 cents or 0.25. The value of her coin collection is $9.50. How many quarters does she have in her collection? So the number of quarters is the variable. The equation would be 0.25. I chose Q, so 0.25 times Q is equal to 9.50 or $9.50. All right, go ahead and flip the page. Focus in on number 12. Okay, so for number 12, here we are solving real-world equations. So Micah and his brother found some cash at a bus stop. They split the money evenly, each getting $16. How much money did they find? So the equation is M for money divided by 2 equals 16, because there's 2 of them. Multiply by 2 on each side and get M equals $32. So they found $32 and they split it between the two, each getting $16. For number 13, A large box of cereal costs $3.50. How many boxes can you purchase with $28? This is, of course, assuming you just want to buy a bunch of cereal. So 350 times C for cereal equals 28. Divide by 350 or 3.5 on both sides, and you can buy 8 boxes of yummy cereal. Hopefully you save some money for some milk. All right, number 14. Jada swims 200 meters more than Molly. Jada swam a total of 800 meters. How many meters did Molly swim? So meters plus 200 equals 800. Subtract 200 on both sides. Meters is equal to 600. So Molly swam 600 meters. Number 15, a recipe calls for 2.5 cups of sugar. You've already put in 0.75 cups or 3/4 of a cup. How many more cups of sugar does the recipe call for? So this is 2.5 is equal to S, or I could have done C for cups, plus the 0.75. Subtract 0.75 on both sides, and you get 1.75 or 1 3/4 cups of sugar. Number 16. Jefferson High School has an enrollment of 1,864 students. In May, 564 students will graduate. How many students will be enrolled after graduation? So we do X plus 564 equals 1,864. Subtract the 564 from each side. Those are the kids who are going to graduate. And X will equal 1,300 students. So 1,300 will be enrolled after graduation. For number 17, Mrs. Turner baked 120 cookies. She decided to give 1/6 of them to her students. How many did she take to her students? So of means multiply. So we could write an equation that reads C is equal to 1/6 times 120 and solve to get C equals 20 cookies. We could also write it backwards. 120 is equal to 6 times C, and divide by 6 on each side and still get 20 cookies. All right, number 9. Here we are just identifying the independent and the dependent variables. You'll hopefully remember that the independent is always on the x-axis and the dependent is always on the y. So from the graph, we can take the labels and use that to fill in these blanks. So the change in volume depends on the number of pennies, which is the independent variable. So again, I wrote in here that the independent is on the x, right here, and that is the number of pennies, and the dependent is on the y, which is the change in volume. From the table, this table is an x comma y form. So it says the amount of money after purchase, that's everything in this column, depends on the amount of money before purchase, which is the independent variable. Here's your independent variables. Here are your dependent. Okay, so that's it for this video. I will make another video for the back 2 pages. Thank you.